Taxes don't have to be taxing. Join us as we sit down with the tax Whiz himself, Mon Abrea, founder and CEO of Asian Consulting Group, to break down the complexities of the Philippine tax system, recent reforms, and the biggest pitfalls MSMEs and online sellers should avoid.
We are open for business, but we need the government to realize it's costly to do business in the Philippines, and we need to improve that. The good thing there is we're open for improvement. We are amending. I think that's more than enough to assure our foreign investors that we will make your investments worthwhile.
We are now open for business.
It is a signal to the world we are open for business.
Tax season is upon us, so it is about time that we delve into a topic that touches every entrepreneur in the Philippines, navigating the complex tax world of taxes. With recent reforms aiming to simplify compliance, like the ease of paying taxes, many still find themselves lost in a maze of regulations. To shed light on this crucial subject, we have with us a man who has earned the title Tax Whiz among his peers, with years of experience guiding businesses, MSMEs, even celebrities, and many more through the intricacies of our tax system. He is also here to give us the lowdown on the 2025 International Tax and Investment Conference, the importance of incorporating sustainability, environmental, social, and governance, and to talk about his book, Reimagining the World Without Climate Change, and more. Please welcome Mon Abrea, co-founder, CEO, and the Chief Tax Advisor of the Asian Consulting Group. How are you, Mon? And welcome back to Open for Business.
Thank you very much, and it's always nice to be here with you.
Nabanggit ko kanina, tax season na. So, a lot of people are stressed in filing on their ITR. So, talaga nga bang napaka-komplikado ng ating buwis, lalo na para sa mga negosyante at empleyado. I think even before you went to Harvard and Oxford, tax Swiss ka na. Pero, ano ba yung naobserbahan mo sa pag-aaral mo sa Harvard at Oxford at sa mga pagbisita mo pa sa mga ibang bansa? Pag ikukumpara ang ating tax system sa kanila.
Well, admittedly kasi sa mga developed countries, talagang automated na. You can hardly see people going to their government agencies or lining up. Talagang lahat, kung hindi sa cellphones, sa laptop na lang nila lahat ginagawa or pinaprocess, from registration to compliance, everything. In fact, what I like also about it, especially in the US, is you can just call a number and everything can be completed.
Wow.
With one call. So, and they will even send you an SMS or an email confirming that it was already done, filed, or whatever transactions you actually made. Now, in the Philippines, hindi naman tayo parang walang pag-asa kasi with the ease of doing business and what you mentioned, ease of paying taxes, honestly, Cesar, there have been a lot of developments. At siguro ang kulang lang is to really put our budget to make sure that the digital transformation will be completed. Kasi parang tatlong administrasyon na, lagi natin sinasabi yung digital transformation. Ano ba yung ending ng transformation? Sana we see the completion of the transformation. Like for instance, until now, we cannot really say that all our MSMEs or individuals are registered sa BIR. Until now. And with the bank secrecy, we know that there are rich people who are not paying taxes, and yet BIR cannot run after them. Unfortunately for MSMEs, sila yung naiipit kasi walang connection, walang pambayad ng abogado, di ba? Mahal daw si tax fees. So parang they cannot also afford to get help. In an environment where there is ease of doing business and ease of paying taxes, you should not be needing to hire a consultant. Dapat kaya mo on your own. Especially pag maliit ka, kasi maliit ang puhunan mo, maliit ang budget mo. So you cannot really afford. So the ultimate objective is to really make it easy that our small taxpayers will be able to do it on their own without penalty. Sabi mo, penalty-free. Especially with the upcoming April 15 deadline. That's practically 40 days from now. So, what do you expect from the MSMEs? To suddenly make a magic na magkaroon sila ng 100,000 at ibayad sa BIR? No. A lot of them, they may have accumulated, let's say, 100,000 sales. Pero ang bank account niya, baka wala ng laman. because they have spent it already. So April 15 for them can be a nightmare.
Taxing.
Because they will have to pay and cash out again. So madaling sabihin na, magbayad ka ng tax, but do they have the liquidity or available cash the moment they need to pay it? The good thing is, sa tax code, kapag more than 2,000 yung tax due mo, pwede ka mag-installment. And this is a legal option. BIR cannot deprive you of this. All you have to do is to file it on or before April 15. If it's more than 2,000 pesos, an individual can avail of, meaning installment, 50% down payment on or before April 15, and under the train law, on or before October 15. Ang tagal nun, ilang buwan yun. The next 50% or the final balance.
Alam ba ng mga MSMEs yun? Parang, is there a campaign from...
Ay, of course, they will not campaign it kasi cash flow, yun eh.
So
bawas
maganda,
sa cash flow.
Maganda ang pagkakataon na pag-guest ni Mon dito. So lahat ng mga negosyante dyan at small businesses dyan, I think it's a good insight and it's a good tip from the tax Whiz himself. Balikan ko lang, Mon, when you mentioned that, when you compare it with the system in the US, di ba, everything is digital. Pero I heard, like say for example, one of the guests here, your friend Yusek Jean Pacheco,
Yes.
she mentioned that there's initiatives also of the government in terms of this digital transformation. They call it the one government approach, where DTI and I think the lead agency here is the DICT. So do you see that there is really a move for the full digital transformation?
I think it started with the previous administration. Talaga namang they're trying to come up with a one-stop shop na talagang lahat ng government agency nasa isang portal. And it's really a challenge for the ICT for two things. Number one, to really make sure all government agencies will be aligned and will be present in that system. Kasi ang pagkakaintindi ko, even yung kay BIR, parang they can generate TIN, but it's disconnected, meaning the compliance and everything, na-register ka lang. Dapat is the entire system will be able to monitor as well the compliance and whether that business is still operating and it's profitable or not. Kasi hindi pwede yung nagkaroon ka lang ng directory ng mga nagrehistro. No, we want to make sure that our businesses are making money and paying taxes. Diba? Kasi paano nangyari yung mga POGO, yung formally registered sa LGUs, pero si BIR, what? Ang laki pala ng kinita nyo. And yet, yung mga MSMEs, dahil nagpo-promote sa Facebook, hinabol ni BIR. Online sellers, of course, we also would want to ask our online sellers, lalo na yung nagmamalaki ng billion na yung kinita nila, diba? May mga ganun daw, 100 million. You have to register and pay taxes for fairness sake, diba? Kasi yung mga may brick and mortar at may mga empleyado na marami, talagang ginagapang na maitawid ang payroll at ang tax deadlines. Hindi biro yun eh. I also run a business, hindi biro yun. Pag nakita mo, dami mong babayaran, di ba? And yet, yung collection mo or yung sales mo, hindi naman minsan nakaka-catch up. But again, that's part of doing business. Kaya nga sabi natin we're open for business, we're open for foreign investors. But we want an environment that will allow us to be profitable and sustainable.
But Mon, ano ba yung sistema dito sa Pilipinas? Mano-mano ba? Parang yung queuing system ba, ganun katindi? Kasi sinabi mo sa US, everything is on digital. So, I'm sure baka real time pa doon, di ba? And there's really an end-to-end digital system. So, dito, paano ba yung sistema?
Again, there's so many improvements already. Online ang registration, online ang filing, particularly on BIR. I'm referring to BIR. But it's not integrated. Pag nag-audit, manual pa rin. Humihingi pa rin ng libro, ng resibo. At the end of the day, and BIR will hate me for saying this, hindi mahalaga yung resibo eh. Ang mahalaga, may data ka ba? Nakaka-capture mo ba yung data kung magkano yung kinita niya? Because under the voluntary assessment, we are asked to declare our own income eh. So how would they know that Mon Abrea declared his honest 100% income? They will never know. Because they cannot access my bank account. So they have to audit me now. Yun yung prone sa corruption. Diba? So what we're saying is, that system should allow them to see, Mon Abrea pala made X amount of millions eh. Ito dapat yung tax niya. Kulang, ang binayaran lang niya. Let's say, ang binayaran lang niya, 3 million. Dapat pala 3.5. Then there's an electronic assessment email sent to Mon Abrea. Kasi sa US, honestly, it's hard to make income na hindi mo i-declare eh. Kailangan parehas kayong illegal para hindi mo talaga i-declare.
Hindi pwedeng legal yung isa.
Correct, because anything that gets into your bank account or your SSN mo, yung number mo, mamomonitor ni IRS. In the Philippines, yung TIN number mo, number lang. it doesn't give any information to BIR. So, I can buy a luxury car and BIR will never know unless I post it on Facebook.
So, hindi yun nakalink doon sa income, hindi kayo nakalink sa
Dapat, the
documents.
system should prevent me from under-declaring income or living a lifestyle that I cannot afford because my declaration is only 1 million. Pero yung lifestyle ko, 100 million.
So, nache-check lang yan sa mga immigration, di ba?
Or may nagsumbong. Or nag-post ka sa Facebook.
Okay. Pero Mon, you are the strongest, probably the strongest advocate on tax reforms in the Philippines. So nakita mo yung problema. And what should be the other reforms that should be implemented? Or budget lang ba ito ang kailangan na parang, sige, kaya nyo namang i-digital, basta bigyan nyo kami ng budget.
Kasi di ba, with the Create More, we are expecting that we attract more foreign investors. With the ease of paying taxes, we expect that the MSMEs will be unburdened. All we need to make sure now is that the tax administration will implement it properly. Kasi sa totoo lang, Cesar, marami na tayong batas. Ang problema is how it's being implemented. Like the issue on PWD-ITs. Sino naman nagsabi na magbibigay ka ng discount or incentive sa mga senior citizen at PWD at bahala na si Batman mag-check kung valid yung ID or hindi? There was no system. And now, BIR wants to run after the restaurants. How on earth is that fair? The government failed to come up with a mechanism by which they will make sure that it will not be abused because the law granted those incentives. And I have no problem with that. The law grants it. But honestly, I have a problem with that because my proposal is not to give them a discount. My proposal is to give them cash monthly. Kasi yung cash, at least alam mo, number one, mabavalidate mong buhay. Number two,
At sino mapagbigyan?
Exactly. Number two, it's not discriminatory. Kasi the discount, pag mayaman ka, mas malaki yung gastos mo, mas malaki yung discount mo. Ang nanay ko sa grocery lang nag-a-avail ng discount, maliit lang yung discount. Pero pag luxury items and everything else, you get more discount. So, hindi na patas kagad. Diba? So, unlike kung cash, let's say 5,000 pesos, everyone gets. Mamamonitor mo pa. May number ba yan? Botante ba yan? Nasa Pilipinas ba talaga yan? But again, that was my contention before.
Yeah, but you know, having observed what is happening in the US and other parts of the world, ganun din ba?
Yes, they get stipend. You know, best example right now is Singapore. They just announced that all citizens will get a voucher.
Kahit Hong Kong, tama.
Yeah, and they will get a voucher, but hindi cash. Because voucher can be monitored. There's a number.
Oh, tama, kahit sa Hong Kong, kahit ayuda.
Yes. Dito, saka talaga pera pinamigay. Hindi mo na alam sino tumanggap ng pera. But again, it's the implementation. So, we are open for business, but we need the government to realize it's costly to do business in the Philippines, and we need to improve that. And it doesn't mean that we should not promote the Philippines. Lahat naman ng bansa may mga challenges eh. The good thing there is we're open for improvement. We are amending, we are improving. So, I think that's more than enough to assure our foreign investors that we will make your investments worthwhile.
Speaking of this foreign investment, so syempre, alam naman natin na parang pumunta ka, you do road shows. You also, you know, with your exposure in the international market, you meet a lot of investors, would-be investors as well. What are their comments on Philippine taxation? Or are there specific reforms? Are there specific requests that they ask? Siyempre, we have the PEZA, di ba? Na parang may tax holidays, ganyan.
By the way, we're working with PEZA. So we have a joint investment mission with PEZA with Director General Teo Panga.
So, nakakatugon ba yung gobyerno natin, yung tax system natin pagdating sa attraction of foreign investment?
Honestly, my suggestion is to invite BAR sa roadshow. No, seriously, because it appears I am criticizing BAR all the time. No, I am the first one to acknowledge all the improvements of BAR. Because I saw it 10 years ago, how Jurassic, and how we are right now. Of course, I'll be the first one to say na ang daming improvements. But of course, meron pa rin corruption, meron pa rin mga lapses. And it doesn't mean that we cannot continue improving it. Pero pagkausap mga foreign investors, two things eh. First is the VAT refund.
Okay.
And especially Japanese investors, they will really...
So meron tayo nun?
Yes, under the Create More, may improvement. Gagawin na natin electronic. Imagine, it took us how many years? From enhanced VAT refund system under Train Law, under the Create More, nagawa na namin electronic VAT refund system. One word. The question now is how it will be implemented. Kasi it's the same issue with PWD and senior citizen. How do you monitor that those who are availing those incentives are legitimate or are qualified if it's manual? It has to be
Yeah,
electronic.
pero Mon, how nga? Is it under the BIR ito to process that, to put the system in place?
It's actually DOF and DICT kasi national government. BIR is an attached agency of DOF. You cannot expect BIR to make a magic na on their own. Remember, they're also afraid of COA, Commission on Audit. So their mother agency, their head agency, which is DOF, should really make sure na ma-prioritize yun, malagyan ng budget, para hindi sila matakot kumuha ng mga contractors or mag-outsource ng mga experts to make sure that they can really computerize it. Then the second one is BIR audit. You know, we were in Germany with Digiteo Pangaw Pesa. Repeatedly they ask, what's the problem of BIR? Why do they audit us every year? Your government gave us a tax incentive. And you expect us to manufacture all those documents every time that they want to inspect us. But the good thing is, under Create More, ako talaga may bad and good eh. Under Create More, meron ng RBE Taxpayer Service. We also lobby that. Which means registered business enterprise, these are the investors, whether foreign or local, will now have a special division in BIR. Hopefully, that means that they will not be persecuted or that they will not be deliberately interrupted in their operations. Kasi nga, pag mga RDO at RD, pressured sa collection yan eh. And this is funny, one of a German company said, what's our business with the government target? Well, it's funny when a BIR examiner will tell our finance that the target of this region is this and that. What's our business with that? We are given tax incentive, which is correct. Why do you tell our foreign investors to pay more taxes when they are given tax incentive? So this and more. That's why, jokingly, but I think BIR should really be part of the roadshow so that they will see how hard we try to attract all these foreign investors and how they mess up whenever they feel like they need more collection.
Ang daming reforms na, ang dami mong ideas na binabanggit. At lahat ng ito matatalakay doon sa Investment and Tax Incentives Conference and Roadshows which you have been doing. So far, what would be the major changes or the features will you be highlighting in this conference?
Well, Cesar, this is our third year to host the International Tax and Investment Conference. Initially, it's just a tax conference. But it kind of shy away people if it's like tax, naku, technical yan. And since we want to attract foreign investors, so last year we made it International Tax and Investment Conference where we launched as well the roadshow. And the roadshow literally travels around the world. Asia, Europe, Middle East, of course the United States, Oceania, to promote the Philippines. Last year, ang naging focus natin is to really let them know of all the developments, the tax incentives, the create law, how will they benefit if they invest in the Philippines. This year, we will be focusing on sustainability. We want to attract more ESG investing. Kasi that's the trend right now around the world, especially in the developed countries. We want them to see the potential of the Philippines. Not just the natural resources, but the workforce, people. We are still the best laborers, not just because we are young, but because we are really flexible and easy to adapt with a lot of regulatory standards and skills.
When you say that the focus is ESG investing, a lot of people or some of the entrepreneurs are not familiar yet with ESG, diba? Na environmental, social, governance. But the large enterprise, they're very familiar with it, diba? As a matter of fact, some of the big companies now separate the sustainability report from the financial report. So, ano ba nga ba yung ESG na yan?
Yes, okay.
So,
That's a good thing. Especially for MSMEs, you don't need to be a big company. It can be a personal, like you and I can have our own initiatives to make sure we protect the environment to save the planet. Ang nangyari lang through the years because of all this global movement, the ESG standards became more specific, measurable, mas impactful. So, as you have said, E stands for environment, meaning your efforts to reduce your carbon emission or carbon footprint.
At nami-measure nila yan, di ba?
Dati parang haka-haka o pangarap lang. Ngayon, mini-measure na talaga. In fact, kung merong mga technology to measure yung number of steps or yung calories, there should be, hopefully, those who are into IT can monitor carbon footprints. It also attracts more foreign investors, especially from the European and American countries. Kasi nga, they put more value na pag yung pag-iinvestan nila ay mindful of the environment, ay alam yung ESG, our money will be more be more profitable and sustainable in the future. So ang sinasabi ko is in the Philippines we want them to focus on ESG investing, but particularly on fast industries. So kaya ang team namin is Fast Forward 2025.
So ano naman yung fast na yan? Kasi alam lang ng marami dito ay fast food, di ba? So what is fast?
Okay,
so
fast.
You have the ESG now as one focus and then the theme is fast.
Yeah. I'll just finish first
Okay,
the ESG.
go ahead, go
So
ahead.
S is social, which
Okay.
means labor protection, labor standards na hindi lang kumikita yung negosyo. Dapat makatao at may benepisyo at napoprotektahan yung mga tao, and that also includes yung mga hayop at iba pang mga living things na hindi abusuhin.
Tsaka yung rights nila.
Correct.
Okay.
Then of course, the G is governance. Ito very important kasi kakaalis lang natin dun sa gray list, regulation on money laundering. At least nawala na tayo sa listahan. It will now attract more investors. That's G, governance. Transparency, accountability, leadership, that the country or the company or an individual is serious on its ethical standards, integrity, and making sure they pay right compensation.
Diyan
pay
na
the
po
right
mapasok
taxes.
ang taxation.
Correct,
din
and right
dun sa
taxes.
G.
Kaya ever since pala, nasa ESG kami because part of governance is paying your taxes correctly. So, from ESG, we now want the world to see the Philippines as a tourism and investment destination, particularly on fast industries. Ito na si Fast Forward. F stands for fashion, film, and arts. Alam mo, Cesar, nung nagkausap kami ni Tourism Secretary, parehas kami nagkasundo kami nung sinabi namin na ang daming potensyal ng Pilipinas, may K-pop, may K-drama. Before that, meron ng mga teleserye at may mga magaganda ng pelikula ang Pilipinas. We need to not just focus on promoting sustainability, but making sure our productions will be sustainable as well. And it cannot happen by just demanding from these industries. The government should provide fundings and incentives. And that will also attract foreign investors. At kami, like I'm based in the US, then kung meron kaming extra money, we would be glad to invest back in the Philippines kasi may incentives. Kaya fashion, film, arts, then A stands for AI, food, and agriculture. So, AI and agriculture, magkaiba yon. AI can be used in agriculture, but AI as a standalone development should also be a potential or a target for investment. So, imagine mo, ang daming hackers na Pilipino. Kung matatransition natin yun into more productive, more environment-friendly developments, ang laking bagay. And alam natin yan, ang daming inventor na Pilipino na sa ibang bansa nakakakuha ng pondo. Balik rin natin, papuntahin natin sila dito. The inventor is here, the invention will be made here, but the fundings will come from abroad. Rather than umaalis sila o lumilipat sa ibang bansa. Then S stands for Sustainable Cities and Communities. This goes beyond urban planning. This goes beyond transitioning to renewable energy. This is about a lifestyle na bawat individual magiging mindful of their carbon footprint. And hindi pwedeng puro sasakyan. Dapat pinaprioritize yung ating mga pedestrian. Alam mo sa developed countries, makikita mo talaga very prominent at nag-invest talaga yung kanilang government sa bike lane. Pero more than the bike lane, mas malaki yung nilalakaran ng tao. So, the Philippines can still work on that. Hindi sabihin mo, matraffic na, masikip. We can still work on it. Alam mo, it's a matter of disposition and faith. That if there is a right funding and the right governance, then we can move forward. And remember, we are attracting foreign investments. We want them to see that there's so much potential in the Philippines, especially on the fourth one, the FAST, the letter T, travel and tourism. We want to attract not just the backpackers and the vloggers. We welcome them, of course. We love all these foreign tourists, but we want the billionaires. We want the wives of the CEOs of these tech giants to visit the Philippines. Not just Bali, Indonesia, or not just Bangkok, Thailand. We have 7,641 islands. Last weekend, I was just in El Nido, one of the 7,641 islands. And a lot of my friends in Harvard and Oxford, they were saying, Mon,
Where
that's a
is that?
paradise.
Oh.
Of course, it's in the Philippines. Kaya ang post ko sa social media, love the Philippines. Because I want the whole world to know, especially my network from Harvard and Oxford, that I am from Philippine Islands with 7,641 islands. And this is just not a tourist destination. Your money can also be invested to our country. Wow. So that's the goal.
Open for Business is back, and still with me is the tax whiz Raymond Mon Abrea, the CEO of Asian Consulting Group. Mon, fast is really fascinating. So, is this something proprietary? Is this a program of ACG, or this is already an existing framework, the FAST? Because the way you explain it, it's something very exciting. It's something, that everyone, even government, should focus on, because, it's easy to remember as well. It's nice, but is this something supported also by government as a framework, or is it something that you thought of it in your road shows?
That's the good news. Number one, we are working and partnering, collaborating with the government. Because as experts, as tax experts and advocates, Cesar, it's important that we work with the policymakers. And this is what also I've learned in Harvard. No matter how brilliant your ideas are, if they won't be implemented by your government, it's useless.
Wala.
So we want to partner with the government, both the executive and the legislative, to make sure we can really protect and help these industries. Why the FAST? Because they are the most prominent. It can easily attract foreign investments. Kasi
parang
nakikita mo
low-hanging fruits na siya.
Exactly. And it's already there. You don't really need to invest so that it will grow. It's growing. All we need to do is to help them transition to a more sustainable investing companies. So imagine if fashion, film, arts, AI, food, agriculture, sustainable cities, communities, travel and tourism, all of them will be given fundings and incentives, then imagine how many billions of dollars can be invested to them.
Assuming everything's moving, we're now on the first quarter, saan mo nakikita yung dapat ma-prioritize? Kasi di ba may sinasabing mga sunrise industry, sunshine industry. If there is huge funding, where will it go? Kasi parang you detailed na eh. So specifically, in terms of priorities, where should investments go as a priority?
Okay, that's a very good question. Number one, right now we have 3 global tax policy agenda. We have the global minimum tax with OECD. We have the global carbon tax with IMF, and we have the global wealth tax with World Bank. So we are working with these international organizations. The global minimum tax is still pending for legislation, but we have signed the agreement already, which means we'll be able to collect from top big multinational companies, including Facebook and the tech giants. That's a revenue for the Philippines.
So ito ba implemented na rin yun? Or we signed already? The Philippines is part of that?
We signed. We're part of the 142 signatories, except US. They just withdrew.
Okay.
But among the ASEAN countries, tayo na lang hindi nag-implement. Vietnam implemented it first in 2024.
So ito yung global minimum tax. So pag sinabi mong global minimum tax, ano yun?
To collect
Magkano yun?
15% minimum tax from multinational corporations who are hiding their income in tax haven or in low tax jurisdiction.
You mentioned about large enterprise. So sila lang, yung mga multinationals
Only
lang.
those with 750 billion euros in annual global
sa
revenue.
Sa peso, magkano yun?
43 billion pesos.
43 billion.
So if you're below 43 billion, you're not affected by the global minimum
okay.
tax.
So hindi naman pahirap yan sa mga MSMEs ulit.
This is now the time that we relieve MSMEs from the tax collection target and focus on the big MNCs.
Bas dapat doon maghabol na si BIR.
Correct,
Tama ba?
correct.
Oo, doon na kayo sa...
This is good news for BIR. Once it's enacted, which will be enacted this year, it's a matter of time. Mag-e-election lang eh. Kung hindi mag-e-election, we were able to pass it.
How
Because
much are we expected to collect from that?
The target of OECD is $220 billion global. At least 1% of that, Cesar, that will be a lot for us. $2 billion? Why not? Additional income.
Pero kung 15% yung global minimum tax, magkano binabayad nila ngayon?
Some of them are paying zero because they are in tax
Wow.
haven.
Sige, patupad na po yan. Okay.
Diba? That's a good thing. Now,
Oo.
going back to your question, anong industries, paano sila matutulungan? That's why we are proposing the global carbon tax. So that, wag naman magalit ng mga oil companies, but those with high carbon emission will now be collected tax. And the tax that will be collected will be the funds to be used to help all these industries.
So pag mas mataas yung carbon footprint mo, sana mas mataas ang tax.
Correct.
Ganun ba yun?
Exactly. At kung wala kang carbon footprint or mas bumababa or nagta-transition ka, the government will
May
funding
incentive
or
ka.
incentivize you. That's the goal. And we need to work with our legislators, to our policymakers. To
Pero
make sure
compared to the one with the global minimum tax with this, which is the OECD, itong IMF, what stage is this now?
the problem with the global carbon tax, there is still no agreement. It's just a
so
proposal.
mahaba pa yan.
Yes. Unlike the OECD, it was already signed 2018 pa lang. They're already working on it.
O yan ang dapat mai-push mo rin, Mon. Kasi,
Ako talaga.
hindi, kasi total, nagka-climate change ka eh.
No, kasi tama yung point mo eh. Who will be prioritized and where will the money come from? Ang problem natin kasi, when we signed the Paris Agreement in 2015, we relied on foreign fundings. Ask me now, how's our carbon emission footprint? Meaning in
I'm
terms
sure higher.
higher.
Oo.
Considering na we signed the agreement to reduce it to 70% by 2030. 5 years na lang, instead na bumaba, tumaas pa. So the point is, sabi ni NEDA Secretary, kasi wala pa yung pondo eh. That's the problem. We relied on foreign fundings. Dapat we raise our own funds and we use the fund not for anything else, but to support the industries. Kasi nga may tinatawag tayong just transition or climate justice. You do not kill a business just because you want to save the planet. You need to help businesses survive in the transition.
And innovate.
Correct.
Innovate.
Especially the individuals. Hindi pwedeng, ang ano ko kasi, ang background ko, para lang sa coal mining, patatanggalin nyo itong industriya na to. Magiging unemployed ako. No, dapat matrain sila at malagay sila sa bagong kumpanya where they will be productive and profitable. So that's part of the just transition. And this is something that I've learned in Oxford. Serious talaga yung mga research and studies. Sabi ko nga, ang difference ni Harvard at ni Oxford, sa Oxford, napapasok ako sa library kasi 24/7 yung library. Talagang bugbugan talaga. And this is not just about throwing ideas. You need to have statistics, you need to have researches and
Applications,
everything.
use cases.
Sa Harvard kasi, a lot of things ongoing. May mga events, etc. Para ka nagpipitch
Parang socialization,
ng business ideas mo every now and then. But you learn a lot of skills and connection. Sa Oxford, para kang nilagay sa laboratory at talagang paglabas mo, dapat meron ka ng bagong product. Parang ganun yung nangyari. So, after my program in Oxford, I came up with this book, Reimagining the World Without Climate Change.
Which is, again, I suggested that you really push for this. Kasi parang naisip ko, yung ibang mga konteksto na I think this is also related to climate change. You know, the impact is really paid for by the developing countries rather than the wealthier nations.
That's the irony of it. Kung sino yung mataas ang carbon emission, sila yung mas may pera, pero sila yung least affected.
Yes.
So,
at sila yung mareklamo pa.
Correct. That's why historical liability, accountability, dapat talaga pagbayarin sila. In fact, I have nothing against Paris Agreement and the UN SDGs. Ang problem dun is walang liability eh. If you don't comply, if you don't give the fundings, or if you don't follow it, wala lang. Walang liability, wala accountability. So we need more teeth. We need talaga magkaroon ng commitment yung mga bansa na hindi siya voluntary. Under the Paris Agreement kasi voluntary eh. Like the Philippines, ang binolunteer natin na 75% reduction by 2030. But honestly, with our economic standing, poverty, education will always come first.
Yeah.
Kasama pa yung baha. So every time na may bagyo, may disaster, you cannot ask the president to prioritize climate change. No, he will prioritize climate change to save the victims of the flood.
Exactly.
But not the climate change na long-term or global.
Yes.
And it's not wrong kasi yun yung need. That's why the world has to look at it not just as a one problem, but as a global crisis.
And that's the essence of sustainability.
Correct.
You look forward to the needs of the future generation.
Correct.
Which leads me to my question. Ano yung relevance ito sa atin? Okay, voluntary ngayon. But now that you're coming up with roadshows and in this conference, what's the goal? Is there a plan to put some caps or to mention that there are benefits for companies, for MSMEs and large corporations when they go into this sustainability?
Good, very good question. Talagang parang paano ka din ka na ng college
Hindi naman
dito.
po.
Alam mo bakit? Especially for our MSMEs. This will now be your new pitch. Because foreign investors, especially those from the developed countries, particularly Europe, will be inclined to invest on industries and companies which comply with ESG standards, with sustainability report, who are familiar with the sustainability report. Kasi sa Europe, meron na talagang sustainability report requirement. Sa US, meron na talagang rules on this. Sa Philippines, meron ng SEC memo that suggests but not yet mandatory. But I think the Philippine Stock Exchange already mandated the ESG disclosure. But up to that point. Pero ikaw, kung MSME ka, starting ka, kung meron ka ng ESG compliance or standards at integral na siya sa vision, mission mo, imagine when you pitch for investors. you will
oo.
capture their attention. You have ESG
So parang global standard ka. Oo.
So the ESG will not just be a theme or something that you can read on the wall. It will now be cascaded in the HR policies, in the standard operating procedures, in the entire operations of the business. It will be integral. Na, like for instance, there are luxury brands that stop using fur. Kasi nga, meron talagang advocacy against talaga sa pagbabalat para ma-harvest yung fur. So this is global. So there's a way. But again, you don't need to be big. Even in your small little ways. Diba, sa atin, ang consciousness nga natin ng climate change is recycle eh. And until now, hindi pa rin natin na-perfect yun.
Hindi pa.
I will tell you.
Tsaka yung segregation.
Correct. Yun ang
Hindi pa
sasabihin
rin.
ko. In Harvard, hindi ako nagbibiro. Talagang may color coding yung basurahan. You will really be imposed or talagang i-brainwash ka to really do it. Everywhere you go, color coded.
Dito sa Pilipinas, meron din naman sa ospital. Kaya lang, hindi mo, parang...
Hindi mo na ipaghihiwalayan.
Parang bahala ka na. Sige, ma-shoot mo, yun. Paano yun? Iba ba yung mindset nila? Di ba? Parang, kumbaga...
Kasi ako, personally, ang tingin ko kasi, climate change is such a big word for us. We associate climate change as pang-developed countries, climate change as a global concern. No, it's a personal thing as well. So, rather than waiting for the government, for the World Bank or IMF to give you funds, dapat may personal conviction ka. Like for instance, yung personal choices mo, 'di ba? Kung anong brands ang susuportahan mo, kung saan mo ilalagay yung pera mo, kung ano yung ipapatronize mo na companies, dapat may ganun kang consciousness. And imagine if every one of us will think that way. Then we will be supporting companies who are promoting sustainability. And sana, dito papasok yung tax policy or economic policy, na sana the government will also complement it. Less taxes, more incentives. Para the prices will go down. Kasi mahirap yung, parang ano yan healthy living. Sorry po sa mga mahilig po sa healthy lifestyle. Don't you think the healthy lifestyle is kind of pangmayaman? Kasi di ba, general public, they go to fast food chains. Why don't we encourage the fast food chains to have a healthy option? And I'm not promoting the brand healthy option. Really a healthy meal, value meal. Na hindi lang value meal na pera, pero value meal sa health din. That's one thing. But how can you encourage them if there is no incentive or mechanism by which they will be motivated to do that? If they're already making so much profit. And ang ating kababayan, whatever amount of peso they have in our pocket, they go to this fast food chain anyway. Diba? So again, it has to be multi-sectoral, multi-level. Hindi pwedeng pang mayaman lang or government lang. Dapat si individual, si consumer, si private sector, yung nagpo-provide ng food and services. Then of course, si government, lalo na yung nangongolekta ng buwis. So imagine if all these sectors and in all levels, mayaman, mahirap, or international or domestic, then I think the world will be a better place to live in.
The irony of it, talking about climate change, yung mindset natin iba, pero tayong unang apektado. May pagbabaha, may matindi ang pag-ulan.
Ang init. Don't forget, nasuspindi ang klase dahil sa sobrang init.
Tapos bagyo ulit. Which leads me again to this question, ano ba yung inspiration mo dyan sa reimagining the world without climate change? At ano pa yung ibang libro mong ilalabas?
It's actually a series, book series. The first one I've launched in Harvard in 2023, the Reimagining the World Without Corruption. And that's primarily consolidating all the efforts to fight against corruption. Worldwide, hindi to Philippines lang. I think corruption is really important to address corruption to make sure that the lives of our people, again, around the world, not just in the Philippines, will be better off. But climate change is becoming a global crisis as well. So after taking the course in Oxford, that's the only time I realized, honestly, Cesar, that maybe tax policy is the solution to this problem. And I cannot just write about the tax policy. No one will read it. But if I will cover everyone's concern, reimagining the world without climate change. I didn't mention about tax.
Yeah.
But if you read the book, in every chapter, I will talk about tax as the end part. So in short, I will not brainwash you, but I will introduce it little by little. That when you finish reading the book, you will be convinced, maybe carbon tax is the key to solve this problem. Otherwise, no one will read the book.
Pero ito naman, ang tanong ko, sige, halimbawa, parang tax policies, tax reforms nga ang sagot, Kasama din ba sa libro mo, siyempre nabanggit mo yung corruption, sige, lalaki ang kita, di ba? Sa lahat ng mga proposals, lalaki ang kita ng gobyerno. So, kung malaki ang kita ng gobyerno, hindi ba katulad ng implementasyon nito ng ibang bansa na talagang nakakarating sa citizens? Parang, do you have specific ideas on how, all these incentives will be felt by ordinary Filipinos?
In fact, that's why we propose as well sa UNCAC, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, to include tax evasion as one of the financial crimes. Because I honestly believe the corrupt politicians are also guilty of tax evasion. And why did I say that? Ang hirap kasing i-prosecute ng graft and corruption na case. For them to be perpetually disqualified from going back to government service. Because that's the only way to stop corruption. I don't believe in death penalty. Papatayin mo? Paano ka mag-anak niyan? No. Kailangan may masampulan na if you will be convicted, you are perpetually disqualified from taking any government post, whether elected or appointed. But through tax evasion, that's easier. The problem is we have bank secrecy law. Kaya yung sabi mo, how do you make sure na yung makukolektang pondo magagamit? We need to make sure that we lift the bank secrecy law and we automate and apply a risk-based audit ng BIR. Because honestly, BIR can be a bulldog to run after the political enemies of the administration. But it can also be the agency to protect our people from corrupt politicians. Imagine mo, 10% yan i-disqualify mo dahil sa tax evasion. Maybe the next generation will no longer have to cry and laugh out loud with the funny names coming out in the ballot. Diba? Seryoso, kandidato yan. And yet you'll be surprised they will win. Diba? Eliminate them because of their violation to this. Now, from reimagining the world without corruption, without climate change, of course, ultimately, we will end the series with reimagining the world without poverty. And the Philippines is very much a concern right now for that. Because at the end of the day, Cesar, no matter how good our initiatives are, if our kababayans continue to miss one meal, to skip a meal, or skip a day without even smelling a food, then don't you think that world is not fair at all? Ang daling i-sugarcoat ang daling i-greenwashing na may feeding program kami or this company has a CSR, mamimigay ng bigas with all your logos and hindi nga mukha ng politiko, logo naman ng kumpanya. Sige, but don't you think we are patronizing, we are dole out yun? Diba? No, they have a fair share in this world's resources. That's why we go back dun sa, are we paying our employees properly? Are we paying our taxes correctly? But let's not forget, is the government using our taxes correctly? Let's not forget that. Okay. Our civic duty is to pay taxes and also to elect or vote honest officials who will use the taxes. So pag yun lahat kinonsider natin, it goes back to personal
What's missing? Di ba parang lagi nilang sinasabi, ay ano kasi yan, political will yan, ay kulang sa reinforcement. What is wrong with the Philippines? Is it our culture? Is it our government? Is it the people who are running it?
That's a very interesting question kasi I went through a lot of reflection and a lot of times na I have to literally stare at the window or the ceiling and what will I do or what's next? The book is entitled Reimagining because that's exactly what I realized. We have normalized all the evil things in this world. Government leaders cursing, lying to your face on national television, businesses not paying taxes or abusing their employees or the environment, greenwashing, pretending that their products are actually good but it's bad, individuals not paying taxes, tax evaders and yet winning in Senate or in highest position in the land. We are normalizing it. Maybe in our personal time, before we sleep, we need to reimagine again the world without all these bad things, without all these evil things. Maybe that will trigger us. Oo nga, ba't ba natin hinayaan yun? Ayoko na nun. Because the world can be a better place if only each of us will have that conviction. But if each of us will just let it happen and keep electing bad people in government, then maybe we don't deserve a better Philippines or a better world. Diba? It's a matter of conviction And ako, after traveling the world and getting through all these Ivy schools, what I realized, Filipinos are not just worth fighting and worth living. Filipinos are worthy of respect of the world. And Philippines is a good, great not great as America is claiming it to be, but we are 7,641 islands of wonderful people. And all we have to do is to believe that again.
I love it. But is there hope?
Definitely there's hope. That's why we need to hope. We need to keep hoping and we need to keep doing something good. Doing good things should be the normal thing. We should normalize again being respectful, being honest, and trying to do good things every day. It should not be a heroic act. Mm-hmm. It should be a normal thing. It's like we grew up saying po and opo, nagmamano tayo when we see senior people. We should normalize it again. Mm-hmm. So, bata ako, pagka nagmura ka, nagsalita ka na masama, sasampalin ang bibig mo. Ngayon, on national TV, on social media, people are cursing each other. And you see it not just from ordinary people, from government leaders. We have to stop it. We reimagine the world without them. So that we can realize that what we're missing.
Ano, Mon, ang mapapakinabangan? Baka mapagalitan ako ng mga nanonood sa ating MSMEs. The Open for Business is really a show for them. What will they benefit from the 2025 International Tax and Investment Conference? And where can they get a copy of your book?
Okay, number one, the book will be launched in the conference on March 26 at Manila Marriott. And it's all over social media with all our media partners. You can register through the link. What you will get, you will not just get ideas, but you will get connection, network with our policymakers, with our industry leaders, and probably with more investment and business opportunities for you. But more than that, we are launching as well the roadshow that will travel across the world to promote the Philippines as a tourist and investment destination. And don't forget, before April 15, we need to file our taxes. Whiz PH is available for free. It's a mobile app that we developed for all Filipino citizens and taxpayers in the Philippines, individuals. You can file and pay it online using the app. Just download it, whether it's whatever phone you have. You can download it. Whiz PH. TAXWHIZ. Whiz PH.
And if people would want to attend the conference, where will they find it? How will they register?
Yes, they can just visit our website or our social media accounts, Asian Consulting Group, and you will have the QR code there to register. Register as early as now because we have a lot of VVIPs and industry leaders who will be joining us. And it's really an opportunity, not just to do things better and to be more sustainable in our future, but I think this is also a huge opportunity to meet inspiring people so that we can all reimagine the world without climate change.
It's a great episode with Raymond Mon Abrea, the CEO of the Asian Consulting Group. Open for Business will be back. Stay with us. And our biz word of the week is triple bottom line, or TBL, is when the bottom lines calculate financial performance alongside environmental and social effects. While significant strides have been made to simplify tax compliance for everyone, including MSMEs and online sellers, continuous efforts and awareness are essential for our taxpayers. Staying informed and proactive is key to ensuring your business thrives within the bounds of the law. And to be future ready, our practices need to include sustainability and ESG when doing business. So let's keep empowering our entrepreneurs to succeed in every facet of their journey, no matter the complexities. And with that, our quote of the week is from Morgan Stanley. He said, "You must pay taxes, but there's no law that says you gotta live a tip." Thank you, Mon. Maraming salamat sa iyo. Maraming salamat sa isang oras na pagsama sa amin upang tunghayan ang isang makabuluhang usapan ukol sa negosyo dito lang sa Open for Business. Marami pa tayong mga tanong na hindi nasagot, so magbabalik ka. Hanggang sa susunod na linggo, samahan nyo kaming muli dito sa Open for Business. Catch us too on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe on our social media page at Net25 TV. We will bring you more insights from industry experts, thought leaders, CEOs, and featured SMEs. Together, let us help encourage business development in the Philippines. Sharpen your business acumen, feel the pulse, and set the trend for as long as you're informed and open for business. Ito po si Cesar Vallejos. Marami pong salamat.